So the title of this live pretty much sums it all up. The last few years, I've seen YouTube really take a downturn in not only creative ideas, but beings that actually want to try to make a difference out there, not only for themselves, but for others. I've seen a lot of beings, especially religious, or they think that they are born again Christians, and all of a sudden they start reciting some nonsense like the Gavita, beings like Queen Anna Snow that used to be a flat earth vegan witch. You're all over the place. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that your thought processes are not precise. You have no knowledge that you've actually accumulated on your own. Everything that you say is somebody else's, that you've plagiarized and tried to twist it into your own type of indoctrination. Same with you, Theodore Daniel. To me, Pastor Daniel, you're a complete joke. You keep threatening your viewers in not only your titles, but the things you say. You blame world leaders, and you blame, I don't know what you're talking about when you say that that billionaires are stealing your money because you're broke. You don't work. Look at America, Canada, different countries. They're called equal opportunity because somebody can come in, immigrate from a third world country. If they have a better idea, they can put it into effect and they become more successful. And then beings that were born into poor thought process without actually being able to change their minds when given new information to sift through, they can't even do that. So religion is basically an obstacle. Any being that you pray to outside of yourself is idol worship. It's false deities. None of you Christians that think some God's going to come and wipe out the population and keep you just because you're a Christian, and that doesn't work. That's not the way life works. This universe has good and bad, black and white. If you got a black and white mentality that's talking about the left and the right hemispheres of your brain, the gray area is gray matter. Once you get past the stage of division in your own brain, then you can look at things more with a balanced perspective as opposed to a narrow-minded perspective, which doesn't get you anywhere. You Satanists that are out there worshiping a deity called Satan, you're no better because you're an idol worshiper. You beings that are praying out to Jesus, you're an idol worshiper. You're praying to false deities that don't exist, and that's hindering your progression. You're not in the real life. You're in a life cycle. Most of you beings will be resurrected into your own purgatory because in the end you judge yourself. Beings that you know of to be deceased actually wake up in a different realm, and possibly, potentially, you're the one missing in that realm. It's not the other way around. False knowledge is not knowledge. It's like putting a bunch of information into your computer that's irrelevant. Unless it's Gnostic, unless you've actually applied it, unless it's actually, you've proved it to yourself, it does not exist. It's untrue. It's a falsehood. Luciferians are not Freemasons. Freemasons generally are a network of beings that, most of them never get past the Master Mason level, which is not even a high level. It's like the level 3, basically. You don't know what the red and the blue lodge represent. Once you get past the red and the blue lodge, once you actually become a high-level Freemason, 33 degree, which isn't even very high, if you look at the spectrum of what 360 degrees encompasses everything around. And keep your likes. I don't do this for likes. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'll never mention your name because you're such a lowlife. You have no knowledge to offer. You get irritated because I actually look like I'm not aging because I'm not aging. Most of you will never see a 100-year lifespan. Most of you expire before you're even 70. Most of you expire before you're 65 years old. You'll never collect your pension. You'll never retire. Everybody that you have around you, you will lose at some point or they will lose you. Buddha was never an actual being. It was an analogy where he sat under the tree, which is his brain stem, and he basically detached himself from the reality around him. It's an analogy. Whether or not you want to try it or prove it for yourself, I mean, that's up to you. Even though I'm the creator, I'm not living any of your lives for you. Live it on your own. I've acquired my own Gnostic knowledge. Astrology's a joke. Tarot cards are a joke. There are no beings, there are no demons and angels or God that hears your whiny little prayers because you can't do anything on your own. There is no deity that actually hears that. And if they do, they turn a deaf ear to it. None of your rituals are going to make you more superior in the physical realm. If so, then some of these fat Satanist black magicians, I mean, why can't you do a spell to lose weight then? You can't. You can't because you're not only misinformed, but none of that information you accumulated on your own. I've watched beings in YouTube from 2018 that have done nothing but age. You look worse than you ever did. Some of you are only in your 30s, early 30s, and you look like you're 55, 60 years old. You're decaying, you're decomposing, you're not creating new light for yourself. Your lamp's gone out, so to speak. None of you can speak whatever they think the original translation of the Bible was, which is all just false history. When you were reset in the world wars, the whole place was redesigned. That's where the Tartarian Empire went. It actually used to be everything connected until all of a sudden one train of thought was no longer cohesive with the other. So that dream broke and it created a new schism, which is actually occurring right now. You beings that are stuck in 3D are all going to decompose. None of you are going to resurrect. You're all too attached to simplistic things which actually bring no value. You're addicted to things such as movies or I don't even know what your addictions are, but they're low level. So you become attached to a realm which never actually brought you any joy or satisfaction, may have brought you temporary moments where maybe it makes your suffering less, but you're here to either learn, grow, or evolve, or you're going to disappear, and you're not going to be resurrected. There is no God that says, oh, hey, you're doing better than that person. So that's not the way it works. Look at even the Star Wars movies when Darth Vader, Anakin dies, and all of a sudden, in the spirit realm, he's with Yoda, and he's hanging out with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Doesn't look like there's much division there. It's only in your 3D incapacity to go to 4D. You'll never see the fifth dimension. A lot of you are just going to be wiped out, erased from history. Nobody will ever remember you. Why do you think there's no new graveyards being built right now? Why do you think that is? And you guys are locked away in the lowest of the lowest form of vibrational frequency. You don't know how to pull yourself out of it. I'm not going to do it for you. No higher being that's ever mastered this reality is going to do it for you. We're all too busy enjoying things from a higher perspective. You can't take your money with you when you go. You can't take anything material with you when you go. You can't take your favorite pair of shoes. Even if you have an animal, your animal has a short lifespan, so it's going to bring you maybe temporary joy, more anguish than not. And then you're going to lose that animal too. So detachment is really the key to this reality. Detaching yourself from false belief systems, detaching yourself from anything that's going to hinder your progress, because you're not progressing. If you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're not evolving, you're going to disappear. And you can be recycled into a grain of sand. You can be recycled into a weed, a plant. Doesn't really matter. Even if you bury somebody in a coffin, that person that you cared about, all of a sudden the parasites start overtaking their body and they become full of worms and decomposing. They smell really bad. You basically locked that being in the ground. Nobody's going to remember that being. And then all of a sudden your memories start to fleet. Most beings, as they get older, they develop Alzheimer's. They start forgetting things. It's really a sad situation for a lot of you, right? So you Satanists, you think you're doing spells to do this or that. I mean, number one, no, that ain't the way it works. There is no deity that will follow a human being, especially, like, whether it's a demon or an angel. None of them would ever have anything to do with a lowlife that can't put the work into their own life. I've watched a lot of you flip-flop around on your philosophies. Even you know, that plumber, Mr. Satan guy that, I mean, you're really unconscious, man. I watch you in your old videos, your little reptilian tongue flicking out because you can't come up with a cohesive thought from the higher realm. And you adopted a lot of other brainless, mindless, small-brained, low-lifes to follow your pathway of knowing nothing. So you've actually harmed a population. So what, like, you know, I know you got annoyed at me bringing up relevant points and thoughts, and now you're trying to say that you're just a lowly plumber. And I mean, for years you were calling yourself the deity Satan, which is actually represented by your House of Yesod, which is your base chakra. There was no Garden of Eden. When the reality before was destroyed, it's because the low level impulses were no longer came from a higher train of thought. They came from a low level place out of lust, envy, greed, laziness, desires that are all just basically meaningless, that all go away in a fleeting moment. None of them are immortal. None of them are etherically or spiritually superior. And you want to blame, you want to blame, you guys are so superstitious. You want to blame deities or beings that don't even really care about you. They don't care about you. It's up to you to grow or evolve. If you want to do damage to yourself by not progressing, that's your fault. That's on you. That's your karma. That's your bad karma. I've watched losers like Matt, Evil Reflection. I mean, you're one of the biggest losers I've ever seen. On or offline, you're pathetic. All you do is you really are evil. Nobody will remember you after you go. You seem to have gotten really out of shape, overweight. I mean, who do you blame? You blame that little food you like to eat? I mean, you're still living with your mommy. You're 30-something-year-old nobody, still living in your mama's basement, who actually, she's a pretty sick woman as well. So was your dad Sherman. You know? And nothing you did progressed your life. All you did was become more fanatical with your Aaron Haywood personas and your CGI. You know, that big, tall Asian guy that had access to face apps before some of them were even put out. That's the only reason why you thought you were being funny, but it everything gets exposed in the end. Everyone gets exposed in the end. Everything gets exposed in the end. Everything eventually has to come to the light. If you don't got light inside of you, you'll never find the light. The sun eventually will die out, figuratively, because that's not even what you think it is. And it's not up to me to tell you what it is, because really, I don't care to. I've watched too many of you take advantage of true kindness, compassion, empathy, higher level states of consciousness. I've watched a lot of you try to promote your charlatan beings like Orly Stewart and her tarot cards. Tarot cards are dumb. Anybody can make up what a card means. It's really dumb. It's pointless. None of you have magic spells to offer. And every single one of you are going to suffer your own karma. It's called cause and effect. There's higher laws out there that don't have to agree with your false concepts and your poor belief systems, which are based on falsehoods. And they don't have to rely on you for anything, because the world will keep going with or without any one of you. There's none of you that are such a big, integral, none of you are important unless you bypass certain ideals and philosophies which corrupt the way you live your life. I've watched a lot of you, that cult, that blood over intent cult. You are a cult. And you're the one that started it, Mr. Satan, with the belief system that all you have to do is something dumb and all of a sudden your sins are going to be erased. Well, I mean, that's really no different than believing in Jesus Christ is going to erase your sins. I mean, it's just as dumb of a concept. It's dumb. And you guys need those billionaires that actually come from good families, that are actually well educated, that actually have, they got a higher empathetic level than you could imagine or comprehend. I mean, I know you guys need a scapegoat. You guys always need a scapegoat, because if you have something else to blame and be mad at, you're never going to accomplish anything on your own. You're always going to think something's against you. And I mean, maybe it's your poor choices that are causing your life to not go any further, which would be a more accurate depiction. Why don't you accept some accountability for yourself and accept some responsibility for your good deeds as well as your misgivings? Nobody in this realm, not even the creator's perfect in this realm, because this reality is imperfect. If I were perfect in this realm, it would be so imbalanced. I mean, it wouldn't even be fun for me. So I've already overcome my own thought processes or ideals long before there was an internet, long before there was cell phones, long before there was any of this technology, which in the grand scheme, I mean, it's really done a lot to dumb you guys down, because the majority of you have lost the ability for critical thinking. Why do you think it's called critical thinking? It is critical, because if you can't think, you ain't going anywhere. Most of you are just parrots. You adopt a belief system that you heard from somebody else, you adopt it as your own, and then you start talking about it, but you can't explain it, you can't prove it. The only thing you prove with your actions is that you make poor choices still. You make poor choices with your money. You get a mortgage, you're never going to pay that mortgage off. You're actually better off renting, because the bank can't take away a home you don't own unless you own it outright, like myself. I mean, I may not be living in the Shangri-La or the Taj Mahal, but at least I own it. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have debt. All my vehicles are paid for. Everything I own. Nobody else owns it. I don't have a credit card. I don't need a credit card. I don't want a credit card. If I can't pay for it cash, I'm not going to buy it. Because I'm not going to indenture myself to slave debt. And if you guys had the truth, you wouldn't age. If you had the truth, you'd stay in a suspended state of animation. If you had the truth, you'd have more answers than questions. But keep abusing your gifts that were given to you, and they'll keep being taken away by beings that actually know what this realm is, what this place is, about karma, karmic consequence. And quit quoting books that you didn't write. If you didn't write the book, don't quote it. You know, Anton LaVey was a bum. Aleister Crowley was a bum. You know, he created impure thought process. The guy was a loser, in fact. And, you know, in his stupid book, he talks about that he was possessed by by some entity. It's not that he was possessed by anything. The guy had a improper thought process, and he was battling his own ego is really what happened. Same with Anton LaVey when he was about to be ritually sacrificed out of this realm, and he realized it at the very end that everybody was trying to put him in the hospital because the guy was a nut job, and the guy was a complete loser. Look at him. Does the guy look like he has any special abilities? No, he actually is quite ugly, or was quite ugly. And I mean, they pulled the plug on him too. And in his last moments, you know, he knew he had been railroaded into it, and he regretted it. And still you follow that loser train of thought. You want to be Harry Potter magicians out there that can't even accomplish anything. Still want to quote those losers that never did anything. So when I say, you know, I'm Yeshua Elohim, I don't give a shit about any of these titles. I don't care about any of I don't really care. This is my life. I'm the creator. I create my own reality. Nothing else is strong enough to impose their false belief system on me. I'm Gnostic. I only talk about what I've actually lived and applied into my own reality. Why do you think I'm not aging? You know, you even look at me since 2018 when I used to make videos. I mean, why do I look younger? Why do I look younger? If time's moving forward, why do I look younger than I did back then? I know why. If I told you, you babbling, blubbering, non-achievers couldn't even comprehend it or understand it. You couldn't even figure it out, right? You couldn't. And it's a shame, actually. It's a shame. Do I have an answer? I mean, hey, man, if I were God the creator, maybe I would wipe everyone and everything out. I'd start off from scratch all over again. And what would I do differently this time? None of your business, because I wouldn't tell you. You'd have to figure it out on your own. And then I'd hide myself in my own creation, so I can still mess with you, is what I'd do. If you had the answers, you wouldn't waste so much time Googling things and trying to fact check and argue over stuff that means nothing. Your political leaders, like I said, they're there for a reason. All of them have a better education than you. They all came from top-notch scales of schooling. You know, they were born and bred not into this cannon fodder type mentality that the rest of you seem to thrive off of, because you guys actually thrive off conflict for some reason. Your division and lack of unity, and that doesn't mean you have to accept everyone's beliefs. No, that doesn't. That means don't engage in it. If you see something you don't like, pull yourself away from it. If you don't want to be around someone or something, pull yourself away from it. Ignore them. Go find something better to do. Don't be like them, because as soon as you start being like them, you ever seen a teeter-totter? Goes up and down. One side goes up, one side goes down. That's basically what happens. And then, what about the kids that used to jump off the teeter-totter and then all of a sudden you slam on the ground and there goes your tailbone, your Yesod pack, you know what I mean? So the fall of the Garden of Eden, the Tartarian, whatever empire you want to call it, basically was it going from the higher mind down to the lower chakra systems and then getting caught and trapped. It's like basically a snake coiling downwards instead of, going upwards. There's a difference. Spiraling upwards or spiraling downwards. There's a difference. You don't get to the top of the building by climbing downstairs into the basement, do you? No. But you get a better view when you go up and you put the effort into walking all the way up to the top of the stairs, right? Don't you get a better view? You get a vantage point where you can actually see things like a higher elevated mountainous region, and being surrounded by those mountains, up in those mountains, you get a higher vantage point. I can see when I go way up there, I can see everything down below and everything it's encompassing with an eagle-eyed view. So, the good point about this lecture, because it is kind of a lecture, because I'm honestly tired of looking at you divide your own imperfect, flawed thought processes and then trying to force them on others. You still got choices, right? Because you can choose whether or not to be a victim or you can choose to be the victor in your own life. And if you're living your life with principles and ideals, philosophy, what do? Well, do unto others as you would do unto yourself, right? So why would you ever do something to somebody else that you wouldn't want done to you? That would be immature. That would be a very small-minded being. That would be somebody that doesn't think properly. That would be an imbalanced thought process. That would be selfish. Like I said, that's why I make music and nature videos. Number one, every time I used to make nature videos before and I'd use somebody else's song, you get a copyright on it, which means you can't monetize your content. I don't monetize my content anyhow. Plus, generally, the beats got boring. I've listened to almost every piece of music that's out there because I love music. That's one thing about this realm that without music, it would be unbearable in here. It would be so boring that, I'd probably start being really mean and reckless to everybody. But the fact that, I create my own lyrics, I create my own content, I create my own beats. Sometimes I'll take somebody else's beat and I'll plagiarize their beat. Doesn't really matter to me. That's all. Look at artists like Wiz Khalifa or Currency, even Bones from Team Sesh. All of them, because they had too much content to put out there. So all of them jack beats for a while. I make beats. I even get bored of making my own beats, to tell you the truth. But at least my playlist is vibrant. A lot of people, when they hear my music out there in public, know I don't make any money off of it. No, I started Pirate 999 with a few other beings that are like the original Apothic Moat, which actually, as far as that ideal is concerned, there were so many imposters out there that we had to change it up different and get rid of the loose ends and anything else that was kind of holding the train of thought back, right? So everything in the 3D expires. Three-dimensional isn't even third eye open. It's actually 3D is actually 2D. It's two-dimensional. A lot of the time it's one-dimensional because you're caught in a left or a right brain hemisphere. You are not consciously making choices. You're doing it out of habitual habits. Your false idols will not respond to you. If there was any being higher than me, do something. You know, make my head spin around. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do anything to me. There's nothing that any of these false deities can do to me. Because, I hate to tell you, but they don't exist. They don't exist, or in the fashion that you think they do. You know, a lot of what I have to say has a scientific variance too, but I'm not conducting any experiments, so I'm not exactly gonna get into. I'm not necessarily going to get into what the spirit realm actually is. You remember from my old videos, even back in 2018, there's always orbs, little spirit orbs floating around me. I used to make more of a big deal of trying to point that out to you guys. Very few of you. There's a couple of you that I really like on this platform. You know, the ones that I added to my real Facebook. I mean, you guys are cool. You guys are normal enough to have an intelligent conversation, and I respect what you do because you're just doing your own thing, and I appreciate that, right? I don't appreciate other beings that try to prevent others' past from progressing out of jealousy, greed, hate, and even being too nice to people, or these humans, or whatever you want to call them. Body shells of, I'm not going to be really mean about it because I've already given you a bit of a tongue lashing, which is a difference, you know. Theodore Daniel, you like to talk about teeth gnashing or whatever, a reference you came across in your Bible, which is actually, your Bible is not only one of the most boring, disgusting books ever created, but it's created more division than you could ever imagine. And to think that anybody needs a middleman for their salvation is absolutely insane. That would be the definition of insane. Say you're stuck in the ocean, your life raft goes down, there's like 5-6 other people that are out there. Maybe some of them can't swim, they start cramping up. Are you gonna collect those beings on your back and drown trying to save them, or are you gonna swim yourself to shore? And then, you know, if any of them make it any further, maybe you can get a boat and you can go out there and help them out again. I mean, if you sat there and you started praying in that given moment, as opposed to doing something, you're part of the problem. So you got to give your head a shake and prioritize what's real and what's not real. Well, what is real? I mean, in this realm, everything's real, but nothing's real in the same pretense of the word, right? And that's the poor thing about words, is anybody can just put words together, and anybody can say anything, right? That's kind of what's wrong with the internet today, is anybody can sit there and ramble on about nothing. Most of you pause, though. You don't have a clear train of thought. You don't have you don't have answers, right? If you had the answers, you'd be applying them into your own life, and you'd be making your own life better instead of trying to tell other people like a hall monitor what is, you know? Or maybe you don't know. But is that my job to explain everything to you? I mean, this was just a live. I tried to do a video on this earlier. I had 2 really good videos, part 1 and part 2, but the memory in my phone is inferior, and I have so much saved on my phone that it really became irrelevant, and I figure I might as well just go live. I don't give beings the opportunity to comment on my lives anymore because I don't need to lose my focus wasting my time with low-level beings that will never evolve, beings that I've already run right off YouTube, beings that were trying to be a stumbling block for me in my pathway. They had to hide from their social media. They got to hide in real life because they're not, they don't come from the same place I come from. They don't come from a place of understanding or knowing thyself, which is rule number 1, know thyself. You ever heard the kingdom of heaven is within you? Why do you think that terminology, because it's been adopted in many different forms. I mean, why do you think it would be inside of you and not somewhere outside? Well, when you leave your body shell, whatever your belief system is basically what you're going to experience. If you think you're going to be judged by a deity or a being that's superior than you, that's what's going to happen. If you think that, you know, and you can't erase your karma. The only way you can erase your karma is to stop running. And, you know, you got to, you really have to face yourself and be able to look at your own reflection in the mirror. And you have to be able to like what you see. Most people look in the mirror and they don't even like what they see. Look at Pastor Daniel, for instance. You probably got another strike on your channel because you're always sitting there saying such negative things. You don't offer any self-help to anybody. You're reciting a book that's obsolete. You swear on your live streams all the time. You say a bunch of nonsense that, I mean, is unethical. So I couldn't imagine your life on the other side of your camera being any better. I watched you pick your nose on your live stream, almost like the first time you've looked at yourself. I also, a couple of times I did live stream with you back on my other channels that, you know, disappeared. And you not only are guilty of sinning. I mean, if you believe that big black and white book, I've seen you do some nasty stuff in nasty situations that you can't deny. Me as the creator who already knows myself, I've watched you do them. There's a reason I don't like you. There's a reason I have to call you out. Same with you and Nana Snow. You saying you don't come from monkeys, and then you start making monkey noises. I proved it in that video. That's you. That's not AI. That's not CGI. That's an actual video of you acting like a monkey. You can't control yourself. Now all of a sudden you're wearing this big blue, what is it, a piece of material? I mean, what's that blue thing you wear on your head? Do you think that makes you more holy? I mean, I've seen Saudi Arabians do that. I've seen Muslims do that. Like, what's your major malfunction is what I'd like to ask you. You started out being a flat earth vegan witch, and then, you know, you're sharpening swords and you're talking about Pindar and meeting beings on Mount Shasta, which you've already been, I mean, you've been debunked. You've been proven as false information. You got to remember, too, Nana Snow, I'm the first one that ever called you queen back in 2018. And that's because I thought you were, you know, I thought you were a boy girl, you know, and that's the only reason, because I know in the American populace, there's a lot of beings that go against what their natural genetics were. And they start taking meds, and they start doing all sorts of things to change the things that they were born with and what they actually were born as. So that was the only reason I called you that. Somehow it went to your head. You thought maybe you're the Queen of America or Mount Shasta or something. I mean, you're not even the master of your own domain. And you're not a master of anything, in all honesty, because you keep adopting. Now you've adopted the church and you think you're a Nazarene. And I mean, I don't even know where. I can't even watch your live streams because they are so mindless, and they lack critical thinking. You read out of books. You can't come up with anything off the top of your head because you've never lived or experienced anything. To me, I think you've lived a very sheltered life. You still got your dad's funding your life. You don't make any money on your own. You don't have a job. You've never had careers like me. You've never started a business like me. You've never owned multiple properties like me. There is no deities that helped me acquire anything. I had to get up every single day and I had to put in the hard work, and I still look youthful. I still look young. I still look jovial. I don't have big bag circles under my eyes. I don't have big crow's feet wrinkles. I got a couple of wrinkles here, but my nose has been broken probably, 30 times in my life. Because not only did I used to train kickboxing, but I'm a pugilist, and I don't mind a little fisticuffs every now and then. It's fun to me. I don't feel pain, especially when I'm in the moment. I'm just like, I don't feel anything. And I actually I get a bit of an adrenaline rush off pugilism, especially if somebody is huge, if they're a big looking, roided out, genetically altered being, and everybody's terrified of them. I mean, I've been the lean pugilist that's literally put them in their place consistently. I mean, even the most harshest of organizations where I live, even their toughest members will not approach me in a negative. By themselves. They'd have to come up with multiples, and even then, it's them that are at risk, not me, because I'm a whole being. I'm not a fragmented being. I even it doesn't even matter. Other beings that I've done interviews with over the years, and other beings that I've watched them completely fall off the map, like beings like Og Tellez, beings like Michael Kavanagh, rest in peace. Beings like Matt Wyatt, rest in peace. And they were supposed to have all these answers. Beings like Robert Bruce from Astral Dynamics, rest in peace. I first worked with him late in 2018. And when me and him were Skyping back and forth, I mean, the guy was a pretty nice guy, but for all the knowledge this guy's supposed to have, and he's putting out videos saying he's going into the astral realm and this and that and the other. I mean, he's no longer, rest in peace, Robert Bruce, because you passed away as well. All you did when we were Skyping is you drank a couple of beers, you smoked a couple of joints, and you didn't really have too much to offer on anything. And I mean, where's your life now? Are you traveling around in the astral realm there now, Robert Bruce? I mean, hey. And other beings that, were supposed to be spiritually sound, like the guy that I learned hypnotherapy off of, which hypnotherapy is fake, to tell you the truth. Hypnotherapy doesn't help anybody. It's yourself that will have to overpower. I always knew that. I played along and stuff. Now I watch him. He was supposed to be some big, this or that. And he's decaying now. He's a frail little old man. He looks like he's aged 30 years in the last few years. And hopefully that guy's learned a lesson. What do you think he's going to be reincarnated as? The only thing he had going for him was his Rife machine, which he stole off somebody else. He didn't make it himself. He didn't even know how it worked. The guy can barely even speak English because he's a illegal let's just say, tried to claim refugee status, but he had to leave his own country because he was a criminal there. Me, I was born here, so I'm second generation Canadian at least. You know, my two sons are first generation Canadians because they were actually born here. But all my other relatives from Norway, from Ireland, from Wales, from Sicily, you know, all my ancestors came from a country that has established old world beliefs. So they came from the old world. You know, Brave New World, that book. I mean, you're not in a brave new world. Maybe because people believe that computers, they feel safe saying things behind their computer that they'd never say in person. Eventually, it'll catch up to you. Eventually, it'll catch up to you. If you've been positive, I mean, then you got positive karma. You know, if you tried to do good, good unto others, I mean, you can only imagine that'll come back to you tenfold, right? Same if you've been the negative, if you've been a stumbling block for others, and I'm not just talking about what your faith is, because your faith will not save your life. Action will save your life, and inaction will make you lose it. So there's a big difference there. So I've got stuff to do anyhow today. It's been super nice, bright, sunny, also cloudy, right? And I've got things to do, but there's just a little bit of a breakdown. And where am I going with my channel next? I mean, who cares? I'll probably just keep making more music, more nature videos. I don't really feel the need to explain much to anyone anymore. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. But I mean, check yourself. Before you check anybody else, make sure you've checked yourself. And if you can't check yourself, I mean, you're going to wreck yourself. And that's just a fact. So many of you just don't even take into account. It's like, you know, you go to a zoo and the glass is up and there's a lion behind it, but you start laughing and poking at that lion and you think that lion's going to forget about it. And all of a sudden, I mean, say a certain portion of society collapses, that lion jumps over the fence. The first thing he's going to do is go after that one being that was sitting there making a mockery. You know who that is. And that's the first thing that beast is going to do, is he's going to come for you. That's the very, very first thing he's going to do. And don't expect anybody to feel sorry. I mean, you've watched those nature videos where all of a sudden somebody gets, a lot of them are AI now, but, you know, before any of that was prevalent, I mean, you don't see too many people jumping in the middle now, do you? Even family members. Everybody tries to save themselves in the end. And that's exactly what happens. Don't think you're any different unless you act different. And if you think from a higher mind, a lot of the low-level things will never affect you. If you think rationally and you think with intelligence, you got to use your heart. You got to use your higher mind with your brain. I mean, earthly things. What's your highlight of your day? Well, what's your highlight of your day? Well, what's the one thing you look forward to? You know? No, we're not all the same. Definitely not. So don't ever delude your thinking into thinking so. Anyhow, that's enough lecturing to Babylon here, because that's where you are. You're still in Babylon, because most of you are babbling on about nothing. At least I had some relevance to what I had to say. And at least it was coming from a place of experience, higher mind, knowledge, applied knowledge, what works and what doesn't. And I still use the energetics of my heart because I'm still empathetic, even though I don't have much sympathy for a lot of beings anymore. I don't even care to. I still got empathy. So I still do unto others as I would have done to me. And if I've ever had to cross a line with anybody, just know they've done it first and they forced my hand, right? And like I said, inaction doesn't save anything. So I still have to be the change that I want to see, which is what I do every day. Anyhow, I'm out.